the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One PodVader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to the Thursday Night Football Preview edition of Next Fan Up. Or is it? Yeah, unfortunately, due to that pesky little virus known as COVID-19, there's a good chance that while we're releasing this as a Thursday Night Football Preview, this game is not going to happen on Thursday night. Unfortunately, there was a positive test with the San Francisco 49ers, who are hosting this particular football game against the Green Bay Packers, and that puts things sort of up in the air. And as of the time of the recording of this podcast, we don't know where this game will fall since it was up in the air. Now, if Dad Joke Thursday is not here on Wednesday. So in any case, we'll still present you a full preview of this particular game. And if it happens on Thursday, great. And if it doesn't, well, you got some bonus content from your friends at Next Fan Up. Hey, check out the NFL Sound Off Not a Week 8 recap. That's always something you can do, or any of our not NFL Sound Off episodes, because quite frankly, they're fun to listen to. It features the sound from all your favorite players. So go ahead and check those out. In the meantime, here is our Green Bay Packers superfan, Brian, to break down the Packers at the 49ers.
What up, NFU fans? Green Bay Brian here to break down the Packers 49ers Thursday night matchup. Coming off a pretty bad loss to the Vikings, I, for one, am not feeling particularly confident to draw Matt LaFleur's kryptonite, the San Francisco 49ers, on a short week. To make matters worse, our entire running back room is on the COVID IR. That's right, we'll end up calling up Dexter Williams, who has 5 total touches in his career, and sprinkle in some Tyler Ervin jet sweeps for good measure. For the fantasy players among us, my advice would be to avoid both. I expect our offense, at least for this week, to flow through the passing attack. On that passing attack, Rodgers has played pretty well this year, and he's particularly done a nice job of playing within the structure of the offense. Honestly, this is probably the biggest difference I've seen from this team in 2020, and one of the biggest reasons why we're also 5-2. Rodgers hasn't been holding the ball and trying to make plays late in the down like we've seen for the last 5 or 10 years. Instead, he's just taking what the defense gives him. This has helped us keep ahead of the chains and dominating in the time of possession. Unfortunately, it's also been the games where we've gotten away from the run where we've struggled. I think the wide receiver group has mostly been fine. There's been a lot of speculation that we would try to add a piece, Will Fuller being the name most bandied about. That obviously didn't come to fruition, but frankly, I think the wide receivers we have been good enough. And there is a chance that we'll get Lazard back from IR this week. If not, and maybe even if he is, I expect to see Adams peppered with targets. If we win this week, it'll likely be because he balled out. Although they are very banged up, the 49ers defense still has played some pretty good football this year. They're top 10 in sacks despite being without the likes of Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas and Richard Sherman, and I'm sure there's a whole host of other guys that I'm forgetting. That team is a walking mash unit. But long story short, if Green Bay is going to win, we'll need to protect Rodgers, and he's going to need to get the ball out of his hands and into the hands of his pass catchers. In our 2 losses this year, we've really struggled against teams that can play cover 2 with an athletic linebacker or 2. That's really been the key to slowing us down. I'm not quite sure what to expect from San Francisco. I don't think they have quite the pass rush that we've seen from some of the other teams we've faced and lost to, but I guess that's why they play the game. On defense, Green Bay's been dreadful against the run, something I'm sure San Francisco is well aware of since they basically imposed their will on us in our last 2 meetings. And, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think what I remember from that playoff game last year was that we only made Garoppolo throw the ball about 8 times. So that's not positive. San Francisco is obviously going to be without their best running back talents, but I'm not sure that really matters. I personally think the Shanahan system, like his dad's, could work with just about anybody. Dalvin Cook last week ate our lunch to the tune of 4 touchdowns, and this was actually despite our attempts to clog up the running lanes by using our heavy personnel. Really, it's been the poor tackling and bad angles from young players that have killed us. We do catch a break that San Francisco's best pass catchers, George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, and their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, are all going to be out for this game. This will obviously help our pass defense, which for the most part has been okay. The pass rush hasn't been as effective as last year, but the pass coverage in the secondary has been about the same or maybe a little better. In the end, it may just be my PTSD from the playoff demolition, but I'm just not super hopeful we win this one. I think Rodgers may have some pretty good numbers, but the short week coupled with COVID losses, poor tackling, and just kind of the 49ers having our number are leading me to pick the 49ers winning on a close one. But don't despair, Packer fans. There's a lot of the season left, and while I'm skeptical we still have the horses to take the first seed in the NFC, I do think we can beat the Bears out for the division. And we get the Jaguars next week, presumably with a healthier roster. So keep the faith and go Pack Go.
So there's the Green Bay Packers side of things. I would love to present you with the San Francisco 49ers side of things, except one, we've got the COVID thing happening. And two, who's left on the 49ers to play in this particular game? Jimmy Garoppolo's on IR. George Kittle is on IR. Kendrick Bourne was the wide receiver who tested positive for COVID. Deebo Samuel has been placed on the injured list. So there's really, he hasn't been placed in the injured list, but he has been ruled out of this game because of a hamstring injury. And the 49ers waived Dante Pettis, which leaves Richie James, who's been limited in practice because of an ankle issue. I don't know who's going to play for the 49ers. We joked earlier this season that they put an XFL team out on the field, and yet they still ended up winning. The problem is the Green Bay Packers are a little bit better than the New York Jets. Or was it the Giants? I don't remember which team, but does it really matter? Either you can make either New York team fit the narrative however you want to. Packers are a little bit better. Now the Packers do have a problem at the running back position. Not 100% sure who's going to start at running back for the Packers, but does that even matter? Probably not, because they could probably get away with just throwing the ball on every down. I will give you one of my wonderful, totally useless stats, although this one's not necessarily useless. Davante Adams. Did you know that since 2016, Davante Adams leads the NFL with 47 touchdown receptions? I thought that was an interesting stat that I did not know. Everyone knows Davante Adams is pretty good, but I didn't know he was that good. In 3 career games versus the 49ers, he's averaged 104.3 yards per game and does have 3 touchdowns. So for fantasy purposes, the fact that there's not much of a running game for the Packers to rely on in this one, and Davante Adams apparently likes playing against the 49ers, I think he might be a good fantasy start. Again, if this game happens. Vegas has this game listed as the 49ers 5.5 point favorites. I think you can feel comfortable with that. I do throw caution that I have not gotten a Thursday night game right in quite some time. I've had trouble with it this season. I had trouble with it last season. And I was very tempted to give you all of the stats as to why the Green Bay Packers were going to win, but based on the fact that I've been wrong about Thursday night football for so long, I was going to go with the other team. I'm not going to do that. I am not going to pick the XFL 49ers over the Green Bay Packers. It's just not, I just can't do that. So I think you can take the Green Bay Packers. I think you can feel comfortable with it. Hopefully it'll be enough to take your mind off of, I don't know, anything else going on in the world these days. But again, unfortunately, one of those other things going on in the world these days is having some impact on this particular game, and this game may not even happen. So hopefully it does. We have some football on Thursday night, and we can enjoy watching some football together as fans of the greatest game in the world. We want to hear from you. nextfanup@gmail.com is the way to email us. You can tweet us at NFU Podcast, and facebook.com/NFU Podcast is another great way to continue the conversation. Hey, don't forget to tell a friend about us. We are everywhere great podcasts are heard. So you can subscribe or follow whatever you do on that particular listening platform to make sure that every new episode of ours is automatically ready for you as soon as you turn on the app. Hey, what a brilliant idea. So yeah, look forward to talking to you again tomorrow when we give you the entire Week 9 slate of games and preview all of those, plus another recipe from Doc, which you'll be able to find on our Facebook page or on our website, nextfanup.wordpress.com. And the power rankings, of course, will reveal all of those as we get through Week 9, the midway point of the NFL season. Until then, here's Kofi Annan. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together. And through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remained true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.